So far in this series, we've looked at savings and investments and the different types of investments and how they can produce income and growth. In a survey of 3,000 adults commissioned to assess people's understanding of investments, almost 1 in 3 said that capital security was the most important feature. And more than 1 in 3 said that a good rate of interest was most important. And what that really means is that 2/3 of the UK public are dismissing real investments right from the off. In video 1, I showed you this graph which shows why 2/3 of the public are wrong. The only way that you can have total capital security, and in recent years even that's been questionable, is by saving in a bank or a building society, and that's the blue line on this graph. You can see from this graph, and we've covered this in previous videos, that you're never going to get anywhere with this approach. So fewer than 30% agreed that stock market investments offer better long-term growth than cash, which really means that more than 2 in 3 people are never going to be able to accumulate significant wealth. Because as we've talked about in previous videos, inflation and tax will just eat away your savings. So for me, it's blindingly obvious that those that are taking the biggest risk are those that think they're taking none. Earlier in the series, I talked about tax, and I said that tax always crops up when you're talking about investments. And it's almost impossible in this little series to say anything meaningful about tax. There are so many taxes and tax reliefs around investments. There's income on investments, which attracts income tax. There's gains on investments, which attract capital gains tax. There's tax relief on things. There's tax exemptions. And when you're ready to shuffle off this mortal coil, there's another tax, a death tax, currently called inheritance tax, which kicks in if you're worth more than a certain limit. And most people don't get to that limit, and there's no wonder given what we know about the majority of UK savers. But those that do find that up to 40% is wiped off the savings when they die. I've recorded a separate series around inheritance tax because for me it's one of the most unfair taxes of all, because it taxes money that's already been taxed once and usually more. Earlier in this series I talked about tax wrappers, and they're things you'll have heard of like pensions and ISAs. And the tax you have to pay on your investment income and gains depends on the tax wrapper you're in, and getting this right can make a massive difference to your wealth. So take a look at these piggies. Each one is worth a different amount of money, and you get to choose which one you want. I'm guessing you'll choose pig C, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that the difference in pig value is down to the investment inside it, in which case you might be surprised to learn that all 3 pigs have received exactly the same savings, that is £200 a month for 20 years, all invested just in cash. I know we don't like cash, but stay with me. The only difference in pig value is nothing to do with investment, it's purely down to the tax wrapper it was in. Pig A is a standard investment account, Pig B is an ISA, and Pig C is a pension. And the reason Pig C is so much bigger than the other pigs is largely down to the tax relief you get when you invest in a pension. For every £80 you contribute, the taxman tops up your investment by at least £20. Of course, you can't get your hands on the pension until you're at least 55, and that number's likely to go up. So a pension might not be appropriate for you and your investment. But the point I'm making is that the tax wrapper, as well as the investment within the tax wrapper, can make a massive difference to your wealth. So what with tax and risk and tax wrappers and asset classes, it's no wonder most people are confused and dazed around investments, and most get it wrong, which can affect them and their families for years and years. If you want to chat about your investment options, just click here and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.